comment section of my last video, someone had asked me if I would post a video about my fountain pen and ink collection. So I thought I'd go ahead and share it. It's certainly been an evolution for me. I've stated in some of my other videos, I love to explore new things. So when I first started journaling, I began with ballpoint and gel pens. So let's take a look at where that led me for a while, thanks to jetpens.com. Let's see, you got my Sarasa collection with all its colors. We've got my mild liners all here. My click art pens are here. And I have a bunch of miscellaneous stuff, various friction pens, other things like that in that one. So that is where I started out. That lasted me about 3 or 4 months. I settled on the Sarasa mark-on for most of my writing. It dries quick. I like the feel of it and also the flow of it. So this is kind of where I sat for several months. And I used some of those other colors just for highlighting and other things like that on my journaling. Then I made the mistake of going on the fountain pen subreddit. I'd been resisting fountain pens. I thought I should be able to be just fine with this. But after a visit to the Reddit, that changed everything. But if there is one certainty, it is the fact that journaling and fountain pens intersect. So as I first started investigating the fountain pen hobby, one thing I decided was I needed to set a limit on myself, as this branch of the hobby can get expensive quickly. When you're looking at, potentially $500 to $1,000 pens, that limit was keeping my pen purchases below $50. With an occasional purchase up in the $80 to $90 zone, I was okay with that. But that's kind of the rule I set to myself to keep things down low. So the first journey after I started looking and reading on Reddit was the Platinum Preppy. Purchased 2 of those, a blue one and a black one. And I live in Utah, which is a very dry climate, and I could not keep those things wet for more than a day or two. I'd pick that pen up and start writing, and it was dry, and I'd have to dip it in water. Not impressed with the Platinum Preppy as far as in a dry climate goes. So that led me to the next possibility here, which is the Pilot Metropolitan. That was kind of in that $30 to $40 range that I was looking for. Lasted a little longer, 3 to 4 days before they went dry instead of 2 to 3. And there's still enough here that it doesn't completely seal. And just in this dry environment, they weren't working out for me. So as much as I'd heard positive things about the Metropolitan, in my case, it just wasn't working out, truth be told. So that led me to the next evolution in fountain pens, which is, from my research, the TWSBI Eco. So let's take a look. It did not take me long. As you can see, the TWSBI Eco is what ended up working for me. At 30 to 40 a pop, it was good. The color was nice. Now, one of the things that you will find when it comes to TWSBI Eco is as soon as you get on that Reddit feed and ask about a TWSBI Eco, there's going to be 3 or 4 people that all decide that they want to have to tell you that they crack and that they're horrible and that that's a huge mistake that you would make in buying a TWSBI Eco. But here you go. I have all of these and not a crack among them, and I rotate often. That's kind of my fun thing to do, is to just kind of rotate through fountain pens what I'm feeling like in a specific day. So I have quite a few of them inked up, and I'll ink them up on occasion as well. So all these, not a crack among them. And there's honestly, in my opinion, something very satisfying. It's almost an ASMR experience for me, that I can just twist that cap, and then you meet that point where you can tell the seal is just perfect, and that's what I do. And when I do it that way, no cracks. And as a matter of fact, I just received in the mail guess I'm going to have to cut it. Usually I take it off because it's a plastic solid one, and I just stick it in this square down here. But this one seems to be paper, so it is not behaving like the other ones do. I mean, I've done this, as you can tell, many, many times. That is a very pretty pen. I really like this bronze edging that they do, and that coloration scheme on that pen is really nice. So, green, I'm do the Roy G. Biv thing when it comes to mine, so it looks like I'm going to have to move the pens over a little bit. I think that one will go just perfect right there. So when it comes to my pens, you can see I've got a few of them inked. As I said earlier in the video, one of the reasons that I went with the Eco is because how long the ink lasts. I've got a pen over here that I will get. I'm going to have to switch sides here to make this work, I think. Okay. So this one has been sitting in that pen holder of mine now for about a month and a half. So we're going to pull this thing out, try to write with it. My daughter designed stickers. So here it is, a month and a half into it. Perfect. Writes like a charm. So that's what I love about TWSBIs. You can leave them there literally a month and a half in that thing, pull it out, and you can start writing with it almost immediately. And that's what I stuck with. So, TWSBI Eco, thumbs up. And I guess I should point out that I'm into other people like to have coffee or candles. In my case, I have a mix of Diet Dr. Pepper, raspberry puree, a little bit of half and half, and some coconut, and that's what I drink. It tastes wonderful. Anyway, so TWSBI Eco, I wanted to take a step up, obviously. Again, I said that as much as I wanted to keep in the $50 range, I was occasionally going to get myself something better, and once I found I liked the TWSBI, it only made sense to kind of continue with TWSBIs. So I do have a few of the Diamond 580s, and honestly, these are my everyday carry. This is what I use all the time. You can see most of them are inked, and I journal with these constantly. So my preferred pen over all of them is the Diamond 580. I think they feel good in the hand. They still keep wet for a very long time. That's what I like to go to. Now, I've been in this hobby for a while, so it only makes sense that I read Reddit and people have other pens to talk about, so I want to give them all a shot. Here's those Metropolitans I showed you. I do have a few Pilot Kakunos, and I even have some of the Quaco Sports. I even have a brass one, and they're okay. I've got no complaints, but again, they just don't stay near as long. I might, if I'm lucky, get 5 days to a week out of some of these pens. If I let them sit for a while, they still don't come even close to the capacity. I also have a few Lammies. The Lammies are actually worse than those other two. The Kakuno keeps wet a little longer, but the Lammies, I get 3 to 4 days in this environment. But this Lamy Studio was just so pretty. I mean, look at that gorgeous red there. I just had to pick one of those up. And again, It'll last me a week if I'm lucky, so I've got it. I like to look at it, but it is certainly not my everyday carry. But this is my entire fountain pen collection here, and I enjoy the hobby. Now, I did also mention earlier that I did allow myself to splurge on occasion. Every once in a while I'll get a bonus, or the budget just happens to work out that I have a little bit more to play with. So the one thing I did want to try was the Pilot Vanishing Point. I got myself, gray is my favorite color, so I bought myself this Vanishing Point. It's my only gold nib in my entire collection, and I mean, I can feel it. It's a little better, but not $100 better. I'd rather just stick with my steel nibs from the Ecos and the Diamond 580s. I think you all will remember also probably about a month and a half, 3 months, within the last 3 months, all the rage was getting these Jinhao 10s. And I didn't want to spend, $160. The colors of these Pilot Vanishing Points were beautiful. I mean, this gradient is just beautiful. So, I mean, I didn't want to spend $160 a pop, so I went with the Jinhao 10s. That's what all 4 of these are. And they, again, last about that week or so. So I've got one at work that I use on occasion because I write with it enough that it's okay, but it's not something I use a whole lot. I just wanted to have this display, but this is my only gold nib, and it is the best writer. I will admit that, but again, not $100 worth of right, in my opinion. Now, one of the other things that people like to do in our hobby is they keep some sort of document where they can kind of write down their pens and what kind of was fine, extra fine, medium, and the ink that was being used in that pen. And I did that for a while. You see I got it dated, but I was rotating fast enough that I found this to be not where I wanted to go. So I ended up, being the IT geek that I am, I just went with a spreadsheet. And what I do is I've got every single one of my fountain pens here with the type, the color, what the nib size is, and then the ink brand and what it's inked with. And I find this just to be easier for me to do. And I even have notes, you'll notice I even said dries out quickly on that studio, that Lamy studio that I've got. Again, I live in a dry environment, so it probably works a lot better for those of you out east, but here in the west, it doesn't work out so well for me. But that's what I did. So I have a spreadsheet where I track all of mine, so it looks like I'm going to need to add one more TWSBI Eco to my nice little list here for the new pen I just got. So there you have it. I'm a TWSBI guy. And probably, if I tried some of these other brands that are out there that are more expensive, who knows, I might change. But I'm trying to keep my budget reasonable instead of on the expensive end, and this is where I land, TWSBI Eco. At some point in the future, I will go ahead and go over the inks, because the person posted or a comment about they wanted to see both my pens and my inks, but this one's getting long enough. I'll call it good for this one, and I'll go over inks another time. Most of my inks are in the other room, so we'll cover that next time.